Your Italian Benelli is built in China. Your very British Triumph is mostly bolted together in Thailand. And KTM, the most Austrian thing in all of motorcycling, is now owned by a company in India. The badge on the tank stopped being a manufacturing certificate years ago, and almost nobody noticed. So I untangled the whole beautiful mess and ranked the 8 biggest motorcycle nations on Earth, worst to first. Fair warning, number 1 is going to start a fight down in the comments, and I am completely fine with that. Let's start with the rules, because this is where most rankings like this cheat. I'm not judging countries on the flag sticker, I'm judging them on the complete package. Original engineering, how well the things actually hold together, how many different kinds of riders they can serve, racing, real manufacturing muscle, and heritage. And here's the part that matters. Building bikes abroad doesn't automatically disqualify you, and getting bought by a foreign company doesn't erase where your motorcycles are designed. If I threw out every brand with an international supply chain, this list would be about 4 bikes long, and one of them would be a lawnmower. I'll say this up front too, this is an opinion, not physics. You can weight these things differently and get a different order, and if you do, I actually want to hear it, because the fun of a list like this is the argument. One more rule, and it's the one that keeps this honest. Every brand counts for exactly one country. Royal Enfield is designed and built by an Indian company, so it counts for India, not Britain, no matter how gloriously British it looks parked outside a pub. All right? Number 8, China. Now, before every CF Moto owner rides down to my house, hear me out, because China's story is the most dramatic one on this entire list. For years, Made in China was the punchline of every motorcycle forum on the internet. Cheap, buzzy, falls apart, you know the jokes. And here's the twist that should genuinely mess with your head. China isn't just building its own bikes anymore. China became the manufacturing partner that half the brands you already respect quietly depend on. That KTM 790, the Austrian one, the one enthusiasts drool over, bikes on that platform are built in China by a company called CF Moto through a long-running partnership with KTM. Those gorgeous parallel twin engines in BMW's F-Series, built in China by Lanxin. And Benelli, that beautiful old Italian marque, has been owned by China's Tianjiang Group since 2005, which itself sits under Geely, the company that owns Volvo and Lotus. Benelli's bikes are manufactured in Wenling, China, while the styling and development work still happens at Pesaro in Italy. Calling it a fake Italian brand misses what's actually going on. It's a real Italian design operation with a Chinese owner and a Chinese factory, and that combination is becoming completely normal, and China's own brands are getting seriously good. CF Moto pushed past 250,000 motorcycles in 2025, with sales up around 40% in Europe and close to 50% in North America. Their bikes ship with Brembo brakes, KYB suspension, and Bosch electronics as standard on machines that undercut the competition by thousands. They've developed their own 675 cubic centimeter 3-cylinder engine in-house, which is not the move of a company copying homework. And I have to correct something I used to believe myself. People say China has no racing pedigree. That is now flatly untrue. In 2024, CF Moto won the Moto3 World Championship, not just the rider's title with David Alonso, who set the record for most wins in a single Moto3 season. They took the team's title and the constructor's title too, a clean sweep at Grand Prix level for a Chinese manufacturer. So why is China still 8th? Because the one thing you cannot manufacture is time. Every country above them has decades of owners putting hundreds of thousands of miles on their bikes, generations of dealer networks, and reputations earned the slow way. China has the factories. Increasingly, it has the engineering, and now it even has a world championship. What it doesn't have yet is that long-term ownership track record. Give it another 5 years, and I don't think this stays number 8. Which brings us to a country with the exact opposite problem. All the heritage in the world, and almost nothing coming off its own factory floor. Number 7, the United Kingdom. This one honestly hurts because British motorcycles are the cool kids. Triumph, Norton, BSA, these names carry a swagger nothing else on this list has. Steve McQueen rode a Triumph. The whole cafe racer look was born on British roads, so Britain should be top 3 on vibes alone, right? Here's the reality. Triumph is still owned by a British family, the Bloors, and every bit of design, engineering, and prototyping happens at Hinckley in England. That part is genuinely world-class. But out of roughly 65,000 Triumphs built in a year, around 60,000 come out of factories in Chonburi, Thailand. Only about 4,500, the special limited run stuff, get built at Hinckley. Now I want to be fair here because there's a lazy version of this criticism and I've made it myself. Triumph doesn't outsource to some random contract manufacturer. Triumph owns those Thai factories. It's a British company running an international manufacturing operation, which is exactly what BMW and Honda and everyone else does. A Triumph is British engineered and Thai built, and both halves of that sentence are true. The bigger problem for Britain is everything around Triumph. Norton is owned by India's TVS, BSA was revived by India's Mahindra. Royal Enfield, as we established, is Indian and counts for India. So once you strip away the brands Britain no longer owns, the British motorcycle industry is basically one excellent company plus a lot of history. That's why it's 7th. The engineering is elite, the design is elite, the heritage is unmatched. But you can't rank a country's manufacturing depth on brands it sold to somebody else. And speaking of countries wrestling with where to build things, this next one just did something nobody expected. Number 6, the United States. Say the word motorcycle to someone who's never ridden, and they picture exactly one thing: a Harley-Davidson rumbling down an open highway. Founded in 1903, more than a century of that V-twin sound. A brand so iconic, it's basically a religion with saddlebags. Add Indian Motorcycle, founded in 1901 as America's first motorcycle company, and the heritage here is untouchable. So why is the birthplace of the cruiser sitting at number 6? Because the numbers are rough. Harley shipped 148,862 motorcycles in 2024, down 17% in a single year. The core buyer is aging, younger riders aren't replacing them fast enough, and for the 2025 model year, Harley moved production of its Revolution Max bikes, the Pan America and Sportster S, over to Thailand, the most American motorcycle brand on earth, built in Southeast Asia. The union was not delighted, but here's the plot twist, and it's genuinely recent. In 2026, Harley reversed course and announced it's bringing that Revolution Max production back to the United States. So the story everyone was telling about American manufacturing giving up, Harley just pulled the other way. Credit where it's due. Indian Motorcycle has had its own upheaval. In February 2026, Polaris completed the separation and sold a majority stake to a private investment firm called Carolwood, keeping only a small slice for itself. So America's oldest motorcycle brand now stands on its own for the first time in years. I should also stop calling this a two-brand country because that's not accurate. Buell is back in low-volume production in Michigan. Arch is hand-building bikes in California. Janus is turning out small retro singles in Indiana. None of them move the volume needle, but American motorcycle manufacturing is broader than the two names everybody knows. I'll also give America this. Indian's flat track program is a monster. Their FTR 750 race bike won a long run of consecutive premier class American flat track championships and dominated so completely that the technical rules themselves became a running argument. But strong heritage and narrow range is still narrow range. Two dominant brands, sliding volume, and a lineup that mostly serves one kind of rider. Number 6, now the top 5, where every country here builds genuinely world-class machines. If you're enjoying the countdown, hit subscribe because I do rankings like this every week, and the top 5 is where the arguments really start. Number 5, India. Okay, quick gut check. What's the biggest two-wheeler company on earth? Ask a non-rider and they'll say Harley or Honda. Here's a name a lot of Western riders can't even pronounce. Hero Motocorp. Depending on which year and which data set you use, Hero is either the biggest or second biggest two-wheeler manufacturer on the planet, and it's not alone. Hero, TVS, Bajaj, and Royal Enfield all sit in the global top 10. India doesn't make motorcycles. India makes an ocean of them. But volume isn't why India jumped up this list. For years, the easy take was that India only builds cheap commuters. That take is out of date, and I need to own the fact that I used to repeat it. Royal Enfield's 650 cubic centimeters parallel twin was designed in-house at their UK technology center. Their 452 cubic centimeters Sherpa engine in the Himalayan 450 is a clean sheet design, their first liquid-cooled engine, and it's genuinely good. Bajaj launched the Freedom 125 in 2024, which the company bills as the world's first mass-produced motorcycle running on natural gas. And whatever you think of the idea, nobody else did it. Bajaj co-developed KTM's 390 platform, which they build in India. TVS engineers and manufactures BMW's entire G310 range. And here's the number that really reframes things. In J.D. Power's 2025 quality study of Indian two-wheelers, surveying over 6,000 owners, Royal Enfield finished first, ahead of every rival on reported problems. That's a modern, independent quality survey, and an Indian brand won it. Then there's the ownership map, which is frankly wild. Bajaj controls KTM, TVS owns Norton, Eicher owns Royal Enfield, Mahindra owns BSA. India spent a decade quietly buying the trophy cabinet of European motorcycling. Why not higher than fifth? Racing pedigree at the top level is still thin, and the enormous majority of Indian volume is still affordable commuters, rather than the bikes most enthusiasts dream about. But the gap between India and the countries above it is closing faster than almost anyone expected, and pretending it's still a commuter-only industry is just wrong. Now, the country that builds the single most impressive thing on this entire list and nearly destroyed itself doing it. Number 4, Austria. If you've never heard an orange KTM screaming across a desert, do yourself a favor. Because in dirt, enduro, motocross, and rally, Austria sets the standard that everybody else gets measured against. KTM's motto is "ready to race," and they mean it with a violence nobody else matches. This is a company that will happily sell you a road bike, but you can tell the engineers would rather be building something with a foot of suspension travel and no headlight. Here's the stat that settles it. The Dakar Rally is the hardest, most punishing motorcycle race on the planet. KTM has won it 21 times, including 18 years in a row from 2001 to 2019. Luciano Benavides took the most recent one for them by a margin of 2 seconds. 2 seconds after thousands of kilometers of desert. No other manufacturer is in the same postcode, and KTM doesn't fight alone. The group also runs Husqvarna and GasGas, so a huge chunk of every motocross grid traces back to the same Austrian engineering. Worth noting, those brands started Swedish and Spanish respectively, and plenty of their bikes are built outside Austria, so it's Austrian-led rather than purely Austrian. So why has the Racing King dropped to 4th? Because at the end of 2024, KTM filed for insolvency, debts north of 2 billion euros, production halted, the whole company staring into a hole. And the cause wasn't racing, it was overexpansion, too much inventory, too many acquisitions, and a badly leveraged balance sheet. Brilliant engineering does not protect you from bad financial management. India rode to the rescue. In November 2025, Bajaj took full ownership of KTM's top holding company, which gives it a controlling stake of roughly 75% in KTM itself. The Pierer Group, the Austrian family behind KTM's rise, exited entirely. Production has restarted, and the early figures point to a real recovery, but the most Austrian company in motorcycling now answers to Pune. There's a manufacturing wrinkle too. The 790 platform is built in China. The smaller 125s and 390s are built in India. So the Austrian brand was already an international operation well before India formally took the wheel. Elite engineering, unmatched off-road racing, but genuine financial fragility and a lot of production happening elsewhere. 4th. Number 3. Germany. Germany's motorcycle influence is overwhelmingly concentrated in one company, and it happens to be one of the most respected names in the industry, BMW Motorrad. When Germans decide to engineer something, they engineer it into the ground. The GS adventure bike is the machine that world travelers, adventure riders, and slightly optimistic dentists all agree is the king of covering continents. Ride one across one, and it simply refuses to become uncomfortable. And they're not just touring specialists. Toprak Razgatlioglu won the 2025 World Superbike Riders' Championship on a BMW, which is about as direct a rebuttal to BMW only makes comfortable tourers as you can get. Now, the fun part German riders don't love bringing up. Not every BMW is German. The smaller G310 range is engineered and built entirely by TVS in India, and that partnership has now produced over 200,000 motorcycles. BMW's newest small adventure bike, the F450 GS, was co-developed with TVS and is built in India too. Several BMW engines, including the parallel twins in the F-Series, are manufactured in China by Lonsin, so your premium German machine may well have an Indian chassis and an engine built in China, all to a German specification. I should also handle the reliability thing carefully because I've seen this misused constantly, including by me. There is a famous Consumer Reports owner survey that put BMW at the bottom for repair rates. It is real. It surveyed around 11,000 riders, and it is from 2015. That's over a decade ago, covering bikes and electronics that barely exist anymore, and a chunk of it traced to one specific fuel pump recall. It tells you about a reputation that stuck. It does not tell you whether a 2026 BMW is reliable, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. So why third and not higher? Depth of field. Germany builds a small number of exceptional things extremely well, and BMW's range genuinely spans from small commuters to superbikes to the best adventure bikes made. But one dominant manufacturer, however good, can't outrank countries fielding several world-beating companies at once. Which takes us to the two countries that have been arguing about who's better for 50 years, and I'm about to pick a side. Number 2, Italy. Italian motorcycles are not appliances. They're objects designed to make you feel something the moment you twist the throttle, and they happen to be extremely fast. Ducati, Aprilia, MV Agusta, Moto Guzzi, these are the supermodels of motorcycling, and they sound like the apocalypse in the best possible way. And Italy backs it up on track in a way that's frankly ridiculous. Marc Marquez won the 2025 MotoGP World Championship on a Ducati. That was the 4th consecutive rider's title won on Ducati machinery by 3 different riders, plus a 6th straight constructor's title. Over in World Superbike, Ducati took its 22nd Manufacturers' Championship in 2026, in the company's centenary year. When it comes to going fast on tarmac right now, Italy is untouchable. But here comes the gotcha this whole video is built on. Ducati, the crown jewel of Italian motorcycling, is owned by Audi, which sits inside the Volkswagen Group. The most passionately Italian bike on earth ultimately answers to a boardroom in Germany. Aprilia and Moto Guzzi both sit under Piaggio, which is at least reassuringly Italian, though it does mean your fire-breathing Aprilia superbike shares a parent company with the Vespa. And MV Agusta spent a couple of years partly owned by KTM before being sold back to the Sardarov family in 2025 when KTM's finances collapsed. Italian motorcycling is a soap opera, and I mean that with total affection. So why second? 2 honest reasons, and neither is Italian bikes break. Plenty of Ducatis and Guzzis rack up enormous mileages, and I'm not going to insult owners who know better. The real trade-offs are money and reach. Italian bikes cost more to buy, the dealer networks are thinner, and specialist servicing costs real money. And the scale is tiny by comparison. Ducati delivered 50,895 motorcycles in 2025. The country at number 1 moves more than that in about a day. Italy builds the motorcycle you fall in love with, and there's an argument that's the only thing that matters. But it isn't the only thing I'm ranking here, and on breadth, price, and sheer availability, one country still has them beaten. Number 1, Japan. Yeah, I know. It's not the exciting answer, and if you scroll down here specifically to be outraged, I respect the hustle. But it's the correct one, and I'll defend it. Because best here means the complete package. And on every single criterion, Japan is either winning outright or sitting in the top 2. Start with scale. In the fiscal year ending March 2025, Honda sold 20.57 million motorcycles, which by Honda's own calculation is about 40% of the entire global market. In May 2025, Honda built its 500 millionth motorcycle. The Super Cub is the most produced motor vehicle in history, and Honda is one of 4 Japanese giants, alongside Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki. Range is where it becomes almost unfair. Japan will sell you a 125 cubic centimeter commuter, a bulletproof middleweight, a liter superbike, a cruiser, an adventure bike, a motocrosser, and a touring barge, all engineered in-house, all available in basically every country on Earth, usually at a price that undercuts the European equivalent. And this isn't a one-company story propping up a nation, which is the criticism I aimed at Germany. Yamaha builds everything from the R1 superbike to outboard motors to actual musical instruments, and their motocross program is legendary. Kawasaki makes some of the most deranged machines ever sold to the public, including a supercharged production bike that makes power figures that should probably be illegal. Suzuki quietly built the bike that a whole generation learned to ride fast on, and their engines have a reputation for running until the frame gives up first. That's 4 independent, world-class engineering companies in one country, competing against each other, which is exactly the pressure that made all 4 so good. On reliability, the reputation is enormous, and it's built on decades of owners simply not having problems, across fleets numbering in the hundreds of millions. That famous 2015 survey did put the Japanese brands at the top with the lowest repair rates in the industry, and I'll cite it as history rather than as a 2026 scoreboard. But the reputation didn't come from one questionnaire. It came from 40 years of bikes that start every morning and ask for nothing. And racing. The Japanese manufacturers dominated Grand Prix racing for most of the modern era and hold an extraordinary share of its all-time wins and championships. Honda was the first manufacturer to reach 800 Grand Prix victories. Now let me hand you the strongest argument against Japan, because it's real. Lately, the Italians and Austrians have been eating Japan's lunch at the very top. In 2024, no Japanese manufacturer won a single MotoGP race, which was genuinely shocking. Honda has since clawed back a win, but nobody would call them dominant right now. So if you want to argue Japan has lost a step at the absolute sharp end, you have a case, and it's a good one. But we're not ranking one Sunday afternoon. We're ranking who builds the best motorcycles for the widest range of riders on the planet, at the best combination of engineering, durability, price, and choice. On that scoreboard, nobody is close. So there's your list, from a Chinese industry that just won a Grand Prix World Championship, all the way up to the Japanese machine that simply refuses to lose. The flag on the tank is the beginning of the story now, not the end of it. Tell me which country you'd have crowned, and if your answer is Italy, I already know exactly what you're about to type. Go watch my ranking of the 10 most beautiful motorcycles ever made, because that comment section is somehow even more unhinged than this one's about to get.